question of the day, songs about cars. Syracuse Nationals this weekend. I asked Steve a question, because counting blue cars, that was like a game you'd play in the car. If you ever played Punch Bug as a kid, and you don't know what Punch Bug is?
I have not heard of that. No.
You never played if you saw a bug, like a car, someone would punch you and say no.
I've never heard of it.
You've never been punch bugged. Like someone saw a bug drive by and punched you in the arm for no reason.
No. I didn't even know that was a thing.
How on earth have you gone this far in life without being just slugged in the arm because a bug passed you? Like a VW bug.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've never heard of this.
How? That is insane.
Really?
Especially if you have a sibling, it just gave you free rein to haul off and punch him in the arm.
Didn't even know it was a thing. I can't be the only one.
You're the only one. I guarantee you're the only one on this. I'd like the chat to chime in, their callers. You go punch bug, boom, you punch him, and you go no punch backs.
I've never heard of that until today.
Wow.
Is it a wow?
Yeah, that's a wow from me.
Let's ask Chris Jastrzembski before we get into lacrosse. Wait, what's it called?
Punch bug.
Have you ever heard of that, Chris? Punch bug?
I have. The yellow punch bug, no punchbacks.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's a thing.
All right. I'd never heard of it before.
Well, welcome to our world.
Okay. Right. Oh, Jordan's looking at me. Everybody's giving me this face. Okay. I don't know. I don't know where I've been.
What a wholesome. His life is so wholesome. He's just never been randomly punched.
Jordan said he doesn't believe me. I swear to you, I've never heard of that before. Anyway.
You just got a wow.
I guess. All right. Let's talk some lacrosse. And, you made some news over the weekend, just casually dropping that Dave Petramala was on his way out, taking another job. What do you know about this whole situation? How did this whole thing go down?
This was actually ridiculous that I found out as I was heading to the beach Saturday. Apparently I found this out Saturday afternoon. The big red flag, and I don't know if anyone who's listening or watching, or you guys know, like if you're out on the recruiting trail, whatever sport, you're pretty much a walking billboard. Petramala was not wearing any Syracuse apparel Saturday afternoon at this Nike camp. He was wearing a patriotic camo American flag and some sort of polo with no Syracuse apparel on it. So that was a big red flag for all the coaches out there and everyone that was out there, recruits or whatever, that he's not with Syracuse. So asked around and he's going to UNC. And apparently from what I found out later on, that he told Gate this Friday night that he was leaving Syracuse to join UNC. Players did not know on either side. SIDs didn't know on either side. So this just came out of the blue that he was leaving Syracuse to go to North Carolina, and Syracuse had a Zoom later that night. Gate was on there. From what I was told, it was a little bit awkward for 5-6 minutes. It wasn't that long, but that was pretty much to tell the guys that, Dave Petramala is leaving Syracuse. Kind of a surprise for everybody.
Yeah, I'll say so. So where does Gary Gate go from here? Who do you think steps in and replaces Dave Petramala? Because big shoes to fill, literally.
Literally huge. I mean, it's tough to follow in the footsteps of pretty much a legend like Dave Petramala. We talk about him as a defenseman, one of the greatest of all time. What he's done at Cornell and Hopkins, and the 2 years he's done at Cuse, and he was really, really big behind the scenes with relationship with the players. I don't know if anyone saw the Joey Spallina tweet from last night thanking him and, helping him out, watching some film as a freshman. He was big with the guys. I mean, even if you were just casually watching Syracuse, he was the guy that the cameras went to for the huddles, and you could hear him call the timeouts and all that. He did a lot behind the scenes that usually a head coach would. So myself and a few others have heard a few names already in the past 48 hours, but the big five that I'll call it, they're pretty big names. Joe Amplo, who's currently Navy's head coach, Ron Caputo, a Duke assistant, Travis Crane, Ohio State's associate head coach, Ryan Wellner, Notre Dame assistant, who just won a national championship with the Irish. The big one, the hometown guy, John Galloway, Cuse grad, Jacksonville's head coach. Those are the 5 that I've heard names as kind of early finalists to replace Petromala. But if you guys know, and Lacrosse knows those 5 names, these are kind of really big names, and these are either already head coaches or guys that could be very qualified to be head coaches elsewhere. And I think that this job, Steve and Paulie, this could be larger than just being a defensive coordinator. I think short term it's going to be that, but I think long term it could be the guy leading the program moving forward.
Interesting. And, Galloway's obviously the one that piqued my interest. I saw your list on Twitter just about an hour ago. I've known John Galloway since he was, at West Genesee, and we've watched him grow up. And as you said, he's doing great things at Jacksonville right now as a head coach. What would it be about this particular job that would lure him away from being a head coach to go defensive coordinator? Is it the thought that maybe one day he'll be leading the program? Because, again, some might look at that and say, well, he's a head coach now. Why would he take a defensive coordinator position?
Well, look at Kevin Cassis, what he did. I mean, Now, granted, he was Lehigh's head coach. He's been there for at least 10 years as Lehigh's head coach. He goes over to Virginia to be the associate head coach, the only one, I should say, in the ACC. And offensive coordinator replaced Sean Curran, which is also big shoes to fill for that Virginia squad. So you look at that, and it's like, you know what? He's kind of, and Cassis has been in the news from what I've heard in the rumor mill about applying to jobs, Harvard, Providence, a few other of these jobs that have opened up the past few years. But for Galloway, this is the school he went to. Syracuse is still deep in his bloods. I think he's a West Tennessee grad, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, correct.
So he's got ties to the area. He's doing fine in Jacksonville. If the only knock I'll have on Galloway, he's pushing transfer U with Jacksonville. He's getting all these transfers. But what has he done at Jacksonville results-wise? He's beaten Duke past couple of years. But in terms of conference titles, a lot of people thought Jacksonville was going to win the SoCon 2 years ago. A lot of people thought Jacksonville was going to win the ASUN last year. I didn't think they were. I thought Utah was. They did. And then Jacksonville just had a tough little end of their season. They lost in the quarterfinals of the ASUN. So I think in terms of results-wise, he doesn't have a lot that some of these other guys do, but he is, out of the 5 that I provided, he's an alum. And that might help sway some of the alums into deciding, this is the guy to go with. And, he is an Orange guy. And if you're looking for a guy that could be the head coach moving forward, he's probably the right pick for some people. Yeah,
well said. Getting back to Petro for a second, it sounds like, based on your reporting, that, Syracuse was caught off guard about this a little bit. Is it fair to say that they were caught by surprise?
I think a lot of people were caught off by surprise. Yeah. I think the fact that when I put this out Saturday, I was caught off by surprise too. I'm like, is this? I had to double, triple, quadruple check to make sure. Is he really leaving? It doesn't. Now, the reason why I think that he's leaving, and this is speculation, is he's got 2 sons there.
Right.
Dom is the big one, and he was supposed to play this year. He couldn't because of an injury. But you have to assume, right, he's going to be with his sons. He can watch his sons' games. It's either you're coaching your sons or you're doing nothing and you're just going to the games each week, which a lot of the parents do. So if you're Dave Petromala, Syracuse defensive coordinator, or whatever position you might be doing, you're not going to see your sons at all for the most part. Maybe once or twice if you're in the conference. But outside of that, I think this is it's a family move, and I know a lot of people value family a lot. I know Joe Amplo does. One of those candidates, he just sent his daughter to a plebe camp about a week ago. He actually flew cross-country from San Diego because he was an assistant on the U.S. men's team. Flew cross-country, red-eye, to Annapolis to send her off, and then he and her wife went back to San Diego that night. So family does matter to a lot of those people. I know Petro does too. You ask a lot of these players, they love Petro like a father. And I think family at least has to be a main reason why he's this reason this happened.
Yeah, seems like it. No doubt. All right, so this is obviously big news, and they'll figure this out. I mean, they're going to hire somebody, and we'll see how it goes from there. But in terms of the roster makeup, Chris, what do you like about this Syracuse roster? They went out and got their face-off guy. I think the last time we had you on, we were talking about they need a face-off guy in the offseason. They were able to do that. What do you think of the roster right now? What do you like, and maybe what do you wish they had, or what is a question mark for you about this roster heading into next season?
I think that this is a team, and in terms of who they got, Sammy English, Christian Muley, Steven Schmidt, who's a real deal from what I've been told from Mount St. Mary's, Jake Stevens, a phenomenal Swiss Army knife, two-way guy from Princeton, Matt Wright, who came over from North Carolina. By the way, imagine being Matt Wright, leaving North Carolina to go to Syracuse, and then maybe the guy you were going to be coached by is going to North Carolina. That just feels a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
But Mason Cohen as well, your face-off guy there. It looks like a good roster. I do think in terms of the guys they got, and even before all of this, my expectations for year 3, Syracuse have to make the tournament. And I think now with the guys they have, Muley, Will March back, Sammy English, Jake Stevens, Matt Wright, Mr. Schmitter too, I think they got to get at least to the quarterfinals this year. Like, this is I think right now this could be a top 10 team on paper. Now they still have to play Virginia. They still have to face Duke. They still have to face Notre Dame. I'm not sure where North Carolina is because they had a down year this year, and there were some rumors about the coaching staff in North Carolina too, in terms of a head coach. And I think part of the reason why Petro left was because of what happened with UNC. Not sorry to divert from back to the Petro thing, but what I heard was Brescia got an extension for 3 years. He was faced with whether he had to change the coaching staff or they were going to change the head coach. So obviously he changed the coaching staff. Dave Metzbauer's out. From what I've been told, he might be going to either more than likely Denver, but he's working a few events, maybe Delaware, if that doesn't fall through. John Thompson from Air Force took over. Obviously, Petro's there now, and Kevin Understein's quote-unquote demoted to the third assistant. But, with Syracuse, they got to reach the quarterfinals. This is the time where, especially now with what happened with Petro, where this hire is important to just keep the relationships and keep the recruiting up. Because, again, maybe the guy who takes over could be the guy that leads Syracuse moving forward.
Hey, I want to follow up on that because that's the second time you said that now, and you're in the know as much as anybody, Chris. Do you get the feel that Gary Gate is looking to move on in the not too distant future? Or are you talking like a decade or so from now?
Look, I'm not sure. I thought earlier that one of the things I had in mind was Wayne Gretzky. In terms of the player, right? Gary Gate. The Wayne Gretzky maybe of lacrosse. In terms of coaching, Wayne Gretzky wasn't good at coaching. And Gary Gate right now, in terms of what I'm hearing behind the scenes, is not, the best at it. So you have to think maybe short term it could be a change. And by the way, guys, this is actually hilarious. This is live radio. Joe Amplo, head coach at Navy, just quote tweeted my tweet. That also included the names that were in a Syracuse.com article. And I'll read it from here. Chris, who did you hear this from? Would love to check your sources. I know I'm not going anywhere, and I believe that he is not going anywhere. I already have the best job in America and a great relationship with my AD. Hope you got the clicks you were looking for, which I'm not really looking for clicks. I'm just putting out the news. But sounds like a strong denial from Joe Amplo, so I would say take his name off the list.
Yes, I would agree with that. Take his name off the list. All right. Well, listen, Chris, great stuff as always. We always love having you on. Thanks so much. Are you still on vacation? You said you were going to the beach the other day. You still near a beach?
See, if the video stream was working, you would have seen my hat, sunglasses just out on the porch in Sea Isle, just trying to get a little tan.
Nice.
For the summer. So off season from hockey, and obviously there is no off season, as I've found out. In a different sport, it's always on season.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you get any more news you want to break, please come our way. We'd always we always love having you on. We love the work that you do. Thank you, Chris. Enjoy your summer, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, lacrosse insider Chris Jastrzembski.
And punch bug expert.
Yes, I got to.
That might be the most shocking, Steven.
Is it really?
I don't know. There's so much every day. It's something new with you. This might be the most shocking thing I've ever learned about it. Like not liking mayo. There's other people. Not liking food on a stick. I actually met somebody recently that doesn't like food on a stick. Not knowing what punch bug is, it kind of makes me think you grew up locked in a basement.
Is that surprising?
I thought it was a rite of childhood to get just slugged for no reason.
I'm going to start asking everybody today if they've heard of it.
Okay.
I'll report back.
You're going to be shocked. I just wish a bug would pass me now so I can punch you.
And now I'll know why.
Yes.
All right. Let's take a timeout. Phone line's open now for the next hour or so. 315-437-7644.
We got 2 days. 2 days at the Nationals, you and I. Hopefully somebody's got a classic VW bug so I can just slug you in the arm.
And now I'll know why.
Yes.
We're back after this on ESPN Radio.